Hey y'all,
What's going on, everyone?
I'm Jay,
Now I'm Chris the Bird Nerd,
and
and
we
we are
are the
the
Bird
Bird
Brains.
Brains. Yeah, yeah.
Uh, yeah, we're back. Colder for Chris than it is for me. We got 10 inches of snow a few weeks ago, and now it's 70. So,
We
uh,
actually had a pretty warm week this week, Jay. I actually just haven't been feeling too good these last couple days, and so hoodie and a beanie felt really nice
there you go.
to
I
end the
get
day.
that. Yeah, it's how much should we tell him, Chris? I guess we shouldn't give him too much yet, but there's a big surprise coming. Um,
Big,
physic
big,
both emotionally big and physically large.
yeah. And we'll say this: it wouldn't have happened without Jay. And there's a good chance throughout this podcast you'll hear what we're talking about.
You'll get some hints. Yeah, we're not going to say what it is this time, but there's some hints. Yeah, it almost didn't happen a bunch of times, but
Yeah.
I guess we could start there. This Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern, Chris and I will be on Robin Sullivan, the Leather Elves live stream to tell the first version of this story, and
Yes.
then probably in the next week or two, we will tell the longer our version, podcast version of this story.
Yeah,
Um,
and give some really cool updates, and I've got some good footage and things like that to show you guys. Really excited about it, and really, Jay, a dream come true.
yeah,
And something I never thought that I would jump into. And so kudos to you, man, for making it happen.
I never thought I would jump into it either. And then I, yeah, we owe a lot of people some big shout outs. We'll get to all that when the time comes. I like to leave everybody in a little bit of suspense. But yeah, the it's also why we didn't have episodes last week.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
we apologize for that, but when you hear this story, you'll be like, okay, that makes sense. I don't. I was so tired by Wednesday that I don't think I could have I couldn't have recorded. It would have just you would have been talking, and I would have just been like blah blah blah, blah, blah.
You
You
legit
know?
almost went a solid 48 hours without sleep. So a lot of
Yeah,
driving throughout the night is what you did.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
back to back big work conferences that you did. And so, yeah, just you were a busy man last week. It was more you than me. I was just
Yeah,
hanging out, waiting.
yeah, it's a lot, but yeah, all right. So today though, um, it spring is sprunging. Spring hasn't sprung yet,
Spring.
but spring is gonna spring.
Yeah, it's starting to spring in.
Yeah, the springing of spring sprung
Yeah.
is imminent. Um, say that 5 times fast. But so
Yeah.
we thought today we would talk about, and we've talked about it before, but we thought it'd be a good time to talk about it again, is getting birds in a breeding condition and maybe just kind of the overall cycle we're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
The Bird Brains Podcast with Chris and Jay. The Bird Brains Podcast with Chris and Jay. The Bird Brains Podcast with Chris and Jay. Bird Brains, Bird Brains. The Bird Brains Podcast with Chris and Jay. The Bird Brains Podcast with Chris and Jay. The Bird Brains Podcast with Chris and Jay. Bird Brains, Bird Brains.
All right. So before we get into that, Chris, let's talk New Zealand for a minute.
Let's do it. Yeah, we've got a few products, Jay, that we want to highlight that New Zealand has sent to us that are available on the website now. So if you guys go on and check out newzealand.com, use the code BirdBrains for 10% off any of these products. If you order the perch box and subscribe to that, the monthly perch box, a lot of these supplies you can get at a pretty cool discounted price on a monthly basis that they send to you in these perch boxes, which is really cool. So what are a couple things that you've got there, Jay, that you're gonna highlight for us? And I'll pull up a couple things as well.
Well, we're getting close to breeding season, so I have a couple of different preview nest boxes that are available on the site. I think these are both add-ons. These are pretty
Yeah.
high end,
Mm-hmm.
very reasonably priced, especially when you factor in the shipping and the
Yes.
discount. Use code BirdBrains, 10% off. Um, they do, different nest boxes, and I'll probably do a video on this in the next week or so, just on my side. It's one of my nerdy things, and I've invented them and stolen other people's ideas and stuff. So, um, different species like different nest boxes. As a
Yes.
general rule,
Yes.
there you have some species like your zebra finches are a great example that are a generalist. They will nest in a shoe, they will nest in a tree. They do not care, right? It's like sounds like a Dr. Seuss
Uh-huh.
thing, but this is in my mind is like a classic finch or maybe a bork nest box if they do some
Yeah.
trimming on it.
Yeah.
But one thing I really like about this one is so you got the top opening, right? And then you have this, I don't know what it is. It's not paint necessarily, but whatever this white coating is,
Mm-hmm.
besides the little indent for where the actual eggs would be laid, it just makes them so easy to clean. You just take a paint scraper and you
Yep.
can clean them.
Yep.
Uh, and so you've got that access. You can get babies out if you need to change out, shavings or something, or feed supplement feed band whatever, and then you've also got these side
Little
doors
peepholes.
on both sides, and so that's really nice for you don't want to disturb the birds completely, but you just want to take a little peek in. Um so that's a pretty nice option. And then these are the ones that I use for borks and budgies now. It's just
Nice.
your classic rectangle, same thing on the inside. They've got this little hanging hook, so they're real easy to mount. And then they come with, they come with this little kit with the
Yep.
hanging hooks and
And the
the front
perch.
perch. Um, and yeah, I mean they're a little bit higher end. I don't actually know what the price is on the New Zealand website. Um,
I think it's like $15,
I
14,
was
$15
I was
around
gonna
there.
say, so I mean you can get some of the plastic ones for 6, 7, $8 sometimes.
Yeah.
But they're usually smaller, and these ones, I think, for what you're getting for the gives the
Oh yeah.
birds the ability to have like some of that natural behavior, right? The just like in the wild,
Mm-hmm.
they would chew around the hole, and they work pretty darn good, and
Yeah.
I like them a lot.
And a couple good things about those nest boxes, Jays. One, I mean, it's a great price on New Zealand. I'm pretty sure Amazon is like 17, $18 a box for
Hmm.
these. Preview has really good options when it comes to different sizes. So what you've got in your hand are good finch boxes to parakeet boxes. They even have bigger ones for cockatiels and your larger parrots. They're solid material, and even with the parakeets and
Yeah.
cockatiels chewing around that entrance, yeah,
Can you
it's
hear that?
it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's solid. Even with that, I mean, the durability of these nest boxes are great. I can use these nest boxes. I can use them, clean them, and reuse them for many years safely. Whereas other nest boxes, they get old pretty quick, and after a couple years, it's not worth putting them back in because they're either not cleanable or they're falling apart because of the wear and tear from the birds. So yeah, those nest boxes are awesome. Um, when you have a nest box, Jay, especially with finches, you got to have something that goes inside there. So New Zealand also has some cocoa fiber that you guys can send out. It's a good handful size. I mean, this is perfect for most of your finches. Canaries love them. Usually, what I'll do is I'll take it and I'll kind of pull it apart, open it up a little bit for the birds. There's containers that you can put them in that have holes that the birds can pull it through. Sometimes I'll even just throw it on the floor of the aviary and birds will go crazy with it and get it and build the nest. If you got zebra finches, that nest box that Jay just held up, they'll fill it full to the top if you give them enough
Yeah.
material. So
They'll have a nest if I can show it right, but they'll have a nest, up to
yeah,
here,
eye
past
level of
past
the
the
hole.
opening. Yeah,
Right.
it'll be like up and in. Yeah,
Uh-huh. Yeah,
and they'll do
they
it quick. They'll
they
do it
fill it
quick.
up to the end. So get some nesting material. New Zealand, this is great stuff. Cocoa fiber is probably my number one nesting material of choice for birds. It's easy for them to handle. It's light, it's clean, and reusable too, if needed. So, yeah, go check that out. A couple things that are very much needed for what we're talking about today, bringing our birds into breeding condition.
Yeah, you know, as far as getting ready for the breeding season, Chris, before we get, I guess, bird specific, the your nesting material, how much do you get a lot ready now? I mean, I fill a 5 gallon bucket full of nesting material to start. Like when the nest boxes first go in, I give them like a heap ton
Yeah.
of nesting material. Is that what you do too?
Yeah, so usually what I'll do is when I put the nest, because at the end of the year, when I take all the nest boxes down, I take everything out of the nest boxes. Everything they've built, I take it out, I throw it away, clean the nest boxes, put into storage, right? So when I'm
Mhm.
bringing the nest boxes back out, you guys let me know. I mean, what's the noise in the
Well,
background?
here's some
Give some comments
guesses.
down below. Give me some
Yeah.
guesses. I'll First one to guess it right, I'll send you some Bird Nerd or Bird Brains podcast merch. So,
Not this one.
hi
It's not this
Einstein.
one.
But yeah, when I put the nest boxes out, Jay, I will put some nesting material in the boxes just as a starter for the birds, and then similar to you, I get big handfuls that I put out in
Mhm.
the aviary, and I do try and move around where I put those nesting materials to kind of encourage the foraging aspect and keep the birds entertained while they're looking for nesting material. But yeah, I put a good amount out there, and then I after I do that, I kind of gauge it week by week, right? If I After a week, if I still have a lot of nesting material on the ground, I'm not going to give them more because either they've built the nests to their likings and they don't need any more, um, or they're done with it, right? And so I'll kind of gauge how much I can see out in the open. If it's gone after a week, then I'll put a bunch more out there again, and let them continue building. So
Yeah, I get my kids to help. So one of my favorite nesting materials is burlap. Like I'll go to Hobby
nice.
Lobby or whatever and buy like yards of it
Yeah.
and then cut it into about like 5 inch long strand, like squares, and then pull them apart manual, like unweave some
Right.
whatever. So I always feel a little guilty. Somebody's like hard loom work, and then I just immediately undo it. But my kids, for whatever reason, think that's really cool. And so that's a big thing. So I end up,
That's cool.
everybody
Yeah.
gets a pile of squares and we're all putting them
I
in the
love
same
that.
box. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's cool. I have to do that with my kids. I have a Hobby Lobby literally next to my house
Yeah.
that
The
we
other
could walk
thing,
to.
pro tip for you listening, if you live near a Hobby Lobby, the other thing, so they have like rotating sales. So like once a quarter-ish or once a month-ish, my wife keeps track of it for me. They have like they have a ton of fake greenery, and normally I like feel like it's
Uh-huh.
very expensive, but
Yes.
every once in a while it'll be like 50% off and you can get a ton. So
Oh,
that's
that's
another
awesome.
thing. That's another bird. And the other thing, last thing, this is now a Hobby Lobby ad, but they sell like wooden organizers for like drawers and stuff that have those little squares. And if you
Hmm.
flip one of those on its side, drill a hole through the side and put perches in it, you can make bird condos
Oh,
for like
nice.
individual privacy perches.
There you
And so
go.
that I've got some of those in my aviary if you notice.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I got that from my friend Gouldian63 on Instagram. My friend Warren
You might have to
showed me that.
you might have to send a picture of that. That's pretty cool. I've actually been wanting to add some privacy perches and things like that into my aviary for some of my birds that are a little bit more shy, and so that would be
We should be getting
useful.
some of the STA ones on New Zealand. I'll check with them and
Okay.
see. But those are the other one. Those ones are great. There's two different kinds, and I have both of those too. But um, and they don't have a bottom, so they're
Hmm.
easier to keep clean. But if you're on a budget or you want them right now, that's a way to do it. Einstein has regurgitated onto me and now is eating it back up. Gotta love birds, man.
Yummy.
Um, but yeah, so all right, so getting birds into breeding condition. Um, I guess, Chris, let's start with this. What is breeding condition?
Yeah, breeding condition is when right now my females are dropping eggs on the ground without nests. They're in good feather condition. My males are singing like crazy, and like it's like you almost can't contain their singing and their excitement. That's when you know your birds are in good breeding condition and wanting to breed. You know, it was funny. I have your doves that you had sent me last year, Jay, and I had one male on one side, and then the two that you just sent me a few months back, right at the beginning of winter, I had them in the other flight, and he has been going crazy, and he actually looks really good. So usually your males, when they come into breeding condition, that's when they're the prettiest, right? So your Lady Goulians, your males are like vibrant colors. Even your zebra finches, like their beaks are really solid orange, their feathers are in pristine condition, and your females are a little plump and always searching for nesting material, searching for nesting sites, or dropping eggs on the ground,
Mhm.
like mine have been these last few weeks. To me, that's when I know my birds are in breeding condition, and they seem to can't get enough of each other, I guess you could say, in some cases. My canaries, I just put them together this last week, Jay, and how I knew my canaries are ready. One, my males won't shut up. They're singing 24/7. And my females, I've seen them out in the aviary collecting material in their beaks almost every time I've been out there. And so those are great signs that they're ready to breed. And I've got videos going up this last week of me bringing the canaries in. We'll put a little hint out there, but or a tip, but I just set them up 2 days ago, and two of my females within not even 24-hour period had their nests already built
Nice,
in
because I need a male.
the new cages that I put in. So they were definitely ready to breed.
But yeah, so agree with everything you said. To me, the main things I'm thinking about are just like the body condition. So
Yeah,
like you said, like a little plump. Like I almost want, especially my hens, to go into breeding season with like a little extra meat on the bones
yeah,
because they're gonna lose a lot during breeding season. And I'd rather like if this is normal, I'd rather them start just a little bit above normal so that when they, slowly decline through the breeding season, they don't go so far down.
right.
Um, yeah, great feather condition, vibrant, like sort of like a overflowing with activity, right? So lots of flying around, lots of singing, dancing for the ladies, all
Yeah,
those things. Like you said, I like to wait on my nest boxes until the, I feel like the birds like cannot take it
yeah,
anymore.
yep,
And once you've had them for a while, you'll notice like like December, they're just kind of sitting there. They go eat,
yeah.
they go sit back on the
Mm-hmm.
perch, might take a nap.
Yeah,
By
they're
by
very dull.
now, yeah, by now in early February, they're starting to, they've clearly got some hormonal things on the brain.
Yeah, and with that, Jay, I mean, I guess for some of our viewers, maybe they've got birds inside their house, and the birds don't have natural light cycles and things like that to go off of. What are some of the things that you do, Jay, to help bring your birds into condition, whether it's naturally or artificially?
Yeah, so to me, lighting is one of the biggest ones, and that's one that I didn't fully understand well until I started keeping birds outdoors. I wish I'd understood this like 20 years ago.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm a big believer in, I mean, to the point now where like I've got some flight, like my large hookbill flight right now, those birds don't have access to the outside. So I even got like the special like plant growing light bulbs for
Hmm.
inside my shed. So they're still getting UVA and UVB. But it's that increase in I forget what the technical term is. It's like photo duration or something, but the increase in the amount of light throughout the day, right? So in the winter, you have more darkness, less sunlight. As you come to spring, the daylight ratio gets bigger and bigger. And so, like this
Right.
time of year, I'm adjusting my lights on my timer like once a week to always keep up with that. So
Yep.
that alone, I think, helps really set the birds like if somebody was like you have to pick one thing, I think that would be the thing that I would pick to say like
Yep.
that does the most heavy lifting. Um
100%.
the other things that I do are I try to mist them more because like April showers bring May flowers, right? Like rain happens in spring. And then I also um I start doing daily egg food,
Hmm.
right? Because we're like I said, I'm trying to get some meat on the bones. I'm trying to increase their protein, trying to beef them up for and make them feel like there's an abundance of food supply. So now would be a good time to have a lot of chicks. And then about 2 weeks before I put the nest box in, that's when I start with the live food. And that, really pushes them
Yeah.
over the top.
Yeah, for sure. I love that, and couldn't agree 100% more with the lighting, right? Lighting is key, it's crucial. Certain species like your canaries, lighting is the number one factor for breeding and consistent breeding. You may luck out, maybe get a young bird that's a year old and it naturally comes into breeding condition, and you didn't do much to encourage that. But after that, year and year after that, if you don't adjust the lighting schedules, that canary is not going to be in the same breeding condition as it was the year prior, right? And in fact, it gradually gets worse throughout if you don't follow a consistent lighting schedule. So lighting is key, and temperatures are important, especially those in the northern hemisphere. I think Jay, you guys get, yeah, man, you guys still had a pretty cold winter this year. I mean, you got snow on the ground, and
We got down to
uh,
9.
yeah, that's Utah temps right there. But the weather, so this week we've had warm temperatures. I mean, I think the high we had a high of 60 yesterday, which really is unusual. We usually don't get those temps until end of February or March time, but the birds can feel it, and it's like this little switch goes in on them. My shed is heated, but they still get that natural cold. They can go out into the aviary, and it just flips this switch on a lot of my birds of like, ooh, it's starting to get warm. It's like breeding. Here we go. You know, companioned along with the lighting schedule that I have inside the shed, and then also we're just getting extended periods of light now as we move into spring and summer. So those are the top two things, Jay, to bring your birds into condition. So whether you have your birds in your house, temperature is important, lighting's important. Whether you have them outside like Jay and I do, temperature is important, lighting's important. So though if you have those two factors in place, the odds are you're going to have a successful breeding season and your birds are likely to come into breeding condition. Now, say, Jay, you have all that in place and your birds don't come into breeding condition. What would be some of the reasons for that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things that come straight to mind. I mean, the first thing for me is just the we're we're really only talking about like if you think of like a 1 mile lap of a track or like 100 meters, right? Which roughly the same thing. The or like a track that you would run the mile on, but I guess each lap would be one. But I'm really only talking about one lap here, so I kind of bungled this explanation. But think about if you're running in a lap on a track. We're really only talking about like a quarter to a half of the track here, but the whole track lap has to line up for you to get a good time, right?
Yeah,
So I, since the end of my last breeding season, which was in October, we're in February now, so that's what, 4 or 5 months later. All I have been thinking about is getting ready for this breeding season. And it's probably the easiest place to start is probably here to get them on that cycle, especially if they haven't been bred before, haven't, they're young. That first ramp up is easy. It's harder to keep them
yeah,
on that lap, right? So
yeah,
so that's the first thought. If you had good breeding last year, but then you didn't help your birds get out of breeding condition, they didn't have a successful molt, maybe you didn't switch to like you didn't back off of the egg food or have more austere diet over the winter. Now your bird is pretty obese, right? Or maybe you have, you've been keeping them for a while now and you haven't varied their diet enough, or they haven't had the right
Hmm.
nutrients, and they're just not able to basically, it's like giving a car bad gasoline. They can't make their full horsepower.
Right.
So that to me is always my first thought. Is someone said, well, I got these birds last year. They bred right away. They bred great, and then I've been breeding them since then, and now they don't breed good anymore. It's like, well,
Right.
that's not what a bird would do in the wild. If you're breeding a pair year round, you're just gonna wear them out and probably eventually
Right.
kill at least the hen.
Yeah.
So those are my big thoughts. Is like, do you have a set on and off?
Yeah. And I think probably paired along with that, Jane, I think we're coming to the end of this discussion, but and this is probably a whole nother discussion, but health of your bird is important, which plays into what you just talked about, Jay. Sometimes there's underlying health conditions which prevents your birds to come into breeding condition. So if you've tried to align all of the key factors, lighting, heat, nutrition, environment, and your bird still is having a hard time coming into breeding condition, then maybe that's when you need to look at it as far as, is my bird potentially sick? Is what other factors are at play here that's preventing this bird from coming into breeding condition? So a few good signs that your birds are healthy is when they molt. Usually if your birds are sick, they don't molt, or they don't molt very well, especially with your colorful birds. That's something that I've seen there. And then if you're coming in, you've got everything lined up, and your birds are not wanting to breed and they're not as active, probably look at seeing if there's some health issues there. But those are just a few things, Jay, that I think are super important to bring your birds into breeding condition. Optimal lighting is 12 to 14 hours of light. That's your best. I mean, that's midsummer daylight hours. You've got 12 to 14 hours of natural daylight. So if you have your birds inside, that's what you're trying to ramp up to mimic, as far as that amount of light for your birds. And then when it comes to wintertime, again, you're decreasing that artificially so that your birds feel the effects of winter, going to those molts, and then bring it back up. And so honestly, the best way to do that, if you got a weather app on your phone, it'll tell you the sunrise and sunsets,
It's exactly
and
what I do. Yeah.
and you just go off of that. I just do mine in 2 week increments, and adjust every 15 to 30 minutes of those 2 weeks. So and then it really is in line and in sync with the psalm. So
Mhm. Yeah, and then the other thing, and I just had it in my head and I've forgotten it now. Too late. But it's late at night. We're trying to get these out for y'all. Um, oh, prophylactic medication. So like you talked about, so this is also the time of year when I'm doing some prophylactic medication. I've already
yeah,
done scat. And then between now and breeding, I will do Moxivet for deworming, and I will do Ronnivet for the anti-protozoal stuff, which your protozoal illnesses are passed from parents to chicks. So
yeah,
now's a really good time to, get those things figured out. But
yeah. I love it, Jay. Well,
mhm.
I think that's probably good there. Let us know, guys. Go check out New Zealand. They've got some great supplies on there for breeding. I've got Jay had the nest box that they've got canary nest pans. Like I'd mentioned earlier, I've paired my canaries up so far. We've got nesting material, nutritional supplements for play and for breeding, bringing your birds into breeding condition. So use that 10% discount, Bird Brains. I almost said Bird Nerd. Bird Brains for your 10% off. Use that at New Zealand. Go get some of those products. Subscribe to their perch box. Drop some comments down below if you guys have some additional questions on bringing your birds into breeding condition. Jay and I are starting to get into the heavy mix of that as we come into springtime. So yeah, I know. You guys been able to guess yet in the comments?
Hey,
the
Chris,
amazing bird that I have here in
do
the
you
room with
remember
me.
that young pop star in the 90s, Aaron Carter?
Uh-huh.
What was his big song? Do you remember?
Oh, I don't remember off the top of my head.
I think it was
What is
I
it?
Want Candy.
Yes, I want candy.
There you go. All
She's
right.
looking at me. Let us know what you guys think in the comments. I am so excited to share what Jay has helped me get. So if you guys listen throughout the whole
Uh,
podcast, thank you. And some pretty cool news coming here in the next week. So
all right. I think that's it for this one. Catch you all on the
okay.
next one.
See you guys.